'Cause we take this job so serious.
The f*** is that? Sorry, pardon me. My apologies.
What in the all types of blue hell?
This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson.
Indeed it is. This is hour 2 therein of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Glad to have y'all with us. Glad to have everybody tuning in over our radio networks, WLEO in Baltimore, WJKS, 622 AM DB, located in Indianapolis and in Chicago, and of course, our flagship station, Snowman Multimedia Sports. All right. Last week, we did a tribute to John Sterling, who announced his retirement, and I love John's call of Yankees win, the Yankees win. And the nicknames he came up with were absolutely fabulous. The guest I have for y'all right now is also like the old school Price is Right and absolutely fabulous. She's an actor and a teaching artist based in the Bronx. So you know she's right by Yankee Stadium, okay? Yankee Stadium is like her second or third home, okay?
I'm about to take a whole lot of crap for wearing a Red Sox hat today.
No, you're not. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love this. She's producing and acting in a one-woman show called All She Cares About Is the Yankees. It was written by John Ford Noonan in the 1980s. When I read that, when she got a hold of me and I read that, I immediately responded and said, let's do it. I immediately responded and said, let's do this thing. Well, let's not waste any more time because I would just be wasting time reading the rest of the bio she sent me instead of saying, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one-woman show herself, Amelia Huckel-Bauer. Good afternoon, my dear. How are you?
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm great. What a fun intro. I love it. I love it. So happy to be here. I
mean, you sent me that intro, and the part that I read was all I read, and I said, oh, hell yeah, I'm getting her on.
Right?
I said, oh, hell yeah, I got to get her on. What inspired you to do that, to put that one woman show together? What turned on the light for you and said, hey, instead of reading this, what the hell? I'm going to act this out. What gave it to you?
I love how you said that. What inspired you to do that? Every now and then I still ask myself that because it is a whole lot of work. Mm-hmm. I mean, long story short is I was auditioning for a theater company years ago, I think 2017. Mm-hmm. And the callback was go out and find a monologue that speaks to your soul and makes you fall flat on your face. And the man running the company gave us like freedom to do whatever we wanted, any gender, any kind of being, animal, superhero, mm-hmm. any age, which for actors is very rare because we're usually pigeonholing ourselves and typing ourselves. So I went on a hunt for something that I really loved, and I found this monologue in a monologue book at the Drama Book Shop, which is sort of a famous bookstore in New York that actors go to.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel kind of just saved it post-COVID because it's, like everything else in New York, it has to pay rent. So it needed a lifeline, and it got it. But yeah, I found this monologue and I loved it. And I used it for my audition, and then I found the play, which is hard to find. I mean, you have to order it straight from the publisher. And then I was working on it in one of my acting classes with one of my old time acting teachers who've known me since I was 17. And he said, well, you should just do the whole show. And once he said that to me, I felt like, those things when like somebody says something and you're like, that has to happen now. And it's kind of like, crap, that has to happen now.
Light switch.
Listen, 1995 was my light switch. December of 1995, when I got an idea because a friend of mine, I was in Chicago, I was at Chicago State. a friend of mine was checking out a camera from the speech and theater department, and he was going to film the game that was taking place at the time. It was in Chicago State, Northern Illinois. I said, Kevin, can you attach a microphone to that? And he said, yeah, what do you have in mind? And he saw this evil smile on my face. And he said, you're dressed, aren't you? Uh-huh. So we went over to the gym. We got permission to film. And with only a roster and a couple of notes, that was my first play-by-play call.
Love it.
And like you, when this happened, you immediately know you created a monster.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You immediately know that you created a monster, and you get greedy. You're like, I've got to do this again. I got to have more of it. I got to improve it. I got to find a way to streamline it and improve it. And with this, I read this, and I immediately became interested. What made you choose this? What made you choose this show?
It was a couple of things. I mean, to me, what was so fascinating is the premise of the play is a 39-year-old woman in Greenwich Village who cannot leave her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So mind you, I found this before COVID, although sort of during COVID, it did occur to me that audiences may relate to it in a different way.
Right.
So that was helpful and I think interesting. But we don't know why. We don't know what has happened to her. We just know she cannot leave her apartment, and she does all of these amazing, bizarre, creative things to get out the door. And
Right.
she is obsessed with the Yankees. It's kind of real time. You know, it's just one night. She's watching a game. It starts with a game. I believe it's a game that actually happened, because we did a show a little while ago at a library, and a man came up to me and said, I remember that game. So I have to double check that. But so she's in love with the Yankees, and she does all these things to get out. And a couple things attracted me to it. One was this idea of like, and she says it in the show, this sort of seemingly normal, happy, beautiful 39-year-old woman where everybody's like, there's nothing wrong with her. Why can't she get out the door? So that sort of juxtaposition of like what people think you are, or who people think you are, and then the fact that you're really not that on the inside. And then also my husband's a Bronx native. He's a huge Yankee fan. Yeah, I'm a huge Yankee fan, but I grew up in New England, so we have love for Red Sox people as well. No worries.
You've seen both sides of the rivalry.
Yeah, I'm like a switch hitter, sort of. Not really. I don't know. I'm really a Yankees fan, but we love Red Sox people too. And in fact, the first time we did the show was in Maine.
Okay.
Maine, which is like huge Red Sox territory. Yeah.
You came to my neck of the hood.
It is.
Are you in Maine?
Yes, I'm actually in Waterville.
Okay, amazing. So I danced in Waterville. I used to dance with Robinson Ballet in Bangor, and we used to come up to Waterville. Yeah. See, small world. Nice. Yep. Yeah, so we were in Deer Isle. Here. Yeah, we did this show in Deer Isle in July of 2022.
Yeah, that's like 2.5 hours north of me.
Yeah. My parents are we're in Blue Hill. My parents are in Blue Hill.
Wow.
So, yeah. But yeah, so I mean the in a lot of ways, the show is also sort of like a little bit of a love song to old school New York and like old school Greenwich Village, which I love. I mean, I guess I'm kind of old school, and yeah, that's
nothing wrong with that.
It was all of that, and then the other thing is that she's so creative, and like even though she's in this place that is just not good, she is so determined, and she's just trying so hard. And we have a really small team, but we say to each other all the time, like, we feel like we could work on this show and like never quite figure it out, never quite crack it, because it's just so interesting and there's so much to talk about. There's just so much in it. So that is what drew me to the show. And the Yankees part is a bonus. And it's really fascinating. And I think it's also great because I'm hoping that it will appeal to some people who don't necessarily come to a lot of theater. Like, my dream is to have baseball fans come who just like don't come to theater. That's what I hope is going to happen. So
I think that'll be a huge crossover for sure.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yep. Why should you mentioned baseball fans? Why should baseball fans come see this show? What's your goal with that?
I mean, I think it will. I mean, number one, I think it will be fun. It's 1983. Billy Martin is managing the Yankees.
Yes.
Goose is Spanky's favorite player. Guidry is on the mound when the show starts.
Louisiana
And
Lightning.
I mean, what else? What else do you need? There's a little bit. There's some Babe Ruth action, not on the TV. That's
Okay.
she's not. It is historically accurate, but there's some Babe Ruth fun stuff. There's 3 huge Yankee dolls. There's small Yankee dolls. There's some fun Yankee memorabilia. But mostly I think it's just, I mean, she's such a fan, and it's super interesting because she has an amazing baseball mind. And another thing we talk about a lot is that if it was 2024, Spanky would probably be like one of the first female managers, because she was ahead of her time.
Oh,
and I
beautiful.
know that because my manager, my director is works for MLB. He does statistics, and he is a little bit in charge of the pitch clock, of all things.
Yes.
So yes, I know. Yeah. So he, which is, that was like not even the reason I hired him. I hired him for his like artistic fantasticness, but it's also was obviously an incredible, huge bonus that he's so knowledgeable about baseball. And he talks a lot about how Spanky, the character, really did know what she was talking about and was ahead of her time in terms of how she like kept stats. And honestly, it's over my head, but I think that part is really fascinating. So I think it will be interesting to baseball fans. Yeah.
That is incredible. I mean, honestly, just hearing about this now, you've got me hooked if you ever come back up here.
Well, I mean, we're ready to go anywhere if people will have us. So,
Oh, there's an opera house just about 2 minutes down my door. Hey, there you go.
Let's make it happen. I'll come to Waterville.
I want to see this show because I grew up on baseball. I absolutely grew up on baseball. My father and my grandfather got me involved in it. My uncles were involved in it. I played a little bit of Little League baseball. Tried out for my high school baseball team as a sophomore. Couldn't cut it, but I then tried out for the varsity team. Couldn't cut it there. So as far as playing baseball, the dream was dead. But the varsity coach came up to me and lit me up, and he said, "I got an offer for you." All right. What's that? How'd you like to be our statistician? Oh, hell yeah. I'm all over that. And I was a statistician for 2 years, my junior year and my senior year, more so my junior year. And I loved it.
Awesome.
And now, still being involved in the game, I do a lot of virtual play-by-play since I'm healing from cancer and toe amputations. So I sit here in front of my computer, pick a Major League Baseball game on a day where I know I can get some traffic to my YouTube channel, and I do the game. But I do have a goal this June to get back in the booth live and call the Indiana High School State Baseball Championships at Victory Field in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I want to make it a weekend. I want to bring my wife with me. And there's all kinds of stuff I want to do. Let me welcome the audience from a Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I mistakenly forgot to start the stream with them. So what I will do is reload this at 2 p.m. so y'all can see the entire show, can see the entire replay. My apologies to that.
Now, my biggest question is, with you guys being in the Bronx, obviously you've been down to the new ballpark and everything else. We mentioned earlier John Sterling's retirement. What is the ultimate John Sterling call for you?
Oh my God, I don't. My husband's in the other room. He's still on spring break. I should ask him. I don't know. I mean, I will say that when I think my director Jonathan told me first. And I like texted my husband. I was like, "Did you know that John Sterling retired?" Because it was like, I think the Tuesday, Sunday, we were listening to the game in the car. And I mean, I guess for me, it's more just like watching my husband listen to him, and my husband's the kind of fan, like if he's watching the game in the other room, and I think somebody and I don't know he has this reaction like, I really think somebody's died, and that happens like all season. Like I keep thinking someone's dead, or like he got it. Like he really, I mean, he's a Bronx guy. He's lifelong Yankee fan.
Yeah.
So I'd really have to ask him. And I mean, like just what you said, he always talks about how the nicknames are amazing. I mean, my son, who's almost 5, wore his Aaron Judge t-shirt to school today.
Nice.
So I think, and he's falling in love with the game at this age. And I think like Judge is his favorite player. So I think, I think it's like the nicknames that sort of like come into our house a lot since we have the young
Robinson
kids.
Cano, don't you know?
Yeah.
Estonian blast.
Estonian blast.
Of course, if we're gonna mention Double A, all rise. Here comes the judge.
Yes.
I got there's so many that he came up with. El Capitan, that's of course in reference to Derek Jeter. Yes, I remember Bob Shepard. Bob Shepard's one of my favorite PA announcers. And all I had to hear to know I was listening to a Yankees game was number 2, Derek Jeter. Number 2.
Oh, for me, that if I knew I was listening to a Yankee game, it was when Mariano Rivera was coming out of the pen.
I was going to say that was for me.
Yankees. Number 42. Mariano Rivera. Number 42. But man,
yeah, I think that would be for me because like that was the sort of the era that I was like watching a lot of baseball because I wasn't quite as busy as I am now. Mariano is probably my favorite player. I had a Matsui jersey for a little while too. Back in the
Godzilla.
Thriller from Godzilla.
I'm a Red Sox fan and I know these calls.
I know. My only excuse is that I have 6 jobs and 2 kids and we're trying to move. Yeah.
Yeah. I know how
and my
that
husband
goes.
watches the games for me. I know
get it.
It's awful. One day I'll get back to it.
I understand that. Believe me.
Yes. Amelia, hun, I get it. All right. I truly get it. My health has gone sideways for the last 3 years. And kicking the hell out of cancer, coming back from blood clots, and now coming back from an amputated toe. People just expected me to give up, to give up this dream. I got a headset in my closet. All I got to do is get my schedule organized, and I'm calling Major League Baseball. I'm calling the WNBA. Shane already knows my NFL team, which is the 49ers. And I started doing their games just about midway through. And my wife came to me and said, "You're on to something. Keep going." So now it's a split Sunday where I do the Colts games. That's her team. She bought me this. So, and my daughter was born at Peyton Manning Hospital. So I cannot come in this house and not have love for the Colts. My team is the 49ers, and my daughter Cheyenne saluted me with this for Christmas. So, like you, it's the nicknames for me with John Sterling. But I will say this. There was one move that he always did to signify a Yankee victory. And I'm gonna take you back to 2008. It's at the old stadium. And it was a wild, wild game. Johnny Damon got the game-winning hit, and the call went like this.
3-1, swung on and driven down the right field line. Fair, the game is over. It's a fair ball into the corner. Benamy scores. Johnny Damon gets his 6th hit of the day, a ribby single. Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
That's when I learned about the Sterling Shake. And I borrowed, and 4 years later, I beg your pardon, I borrowed it because I was in Chicago at the time and I was covering the Roosevelt University Lakers based out of downtown Chicago. And I knew that call was going to come to me because I couldn't think of any other call that would fit. So we go to first home game. They won. And that's what I did. I said, Lakers win. The Lakers win. It caught fire.
Yep, that's when you know you're on something.
It caught fire. Man, speaking of fire, this is a great conversation we're having with Amelia Huckel-Bauer. And right now, folks, we're just rolling right along and doing everything. What do you do outside of acting?
I teach acting, and I teach acting and I act. Right now I'm directing a middle school production. My daughter goes to a Bronx charter school for the arts here in the Bronx, and there's a elementary school and a middle school. So I'm directing a production there. I teach at Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, which is an old school method acting studio, which I love, sort of my home away from home. I've been there since I was 17. I won't say how many years that is, but it's well over half my life. We'll put it that way.
Right.
And I work with an amazing theater company called Emit Theater, and we do immersive Shakespeare in New York City public schools. And that is super awesome as well. There are not as many baseball fans in that theater company, I will say, but they are super supportive of the show nonetheless. Shakespeare and baseball do not always mesh, although maybe that is my next project. That might perhaps be a good one. I wanted to mention too, another fun thing about the show, because we have, so there's a lot of voices in the show because she listens to tapes, and then she's also watching the game, and we have announcers. And I have a friend named Owen Newkirk, who I grew up with also in Blue Hill, Maine, who announces for the Dallas Stars in Texas.
Nice.
Yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Same here. Same here. Same here.
Owen, so Owen and I grew up together. His little sister is my age, and we're best friends. And Owen, used to like tease me and beat me up and all that stuff growing up. And he was always hilarious. But your story of being asked to be the statistician when you were in high school made me think of him. But he and his buddy do the announcer voices for us. So we bring in like all sorts of, I don't know, fun stuff. So we have real hockey announcers doing the baseball announcers, but it works. So
if you ever need another voice,
tidbit.
If you ever need another voice, I'm putting my hat in the ring.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
You come to Maine, I got you.
Yep. We could make it. We could like add
listen.
A live.
I'm in studio here most of the day. All right. This microphone is in front of me. Whenever you need a voice, never fear. Snowman's here.
I love it. And I love what you're saying too about keeping working, even though you have some health challenges, because I think that's what keeps us going. I mean, why would you give that up? Like, if anything, that's what's gonna help you push through. And we also talk a lot about we struggle a lot with like what Spanky would be doing now, because I think in some ways with the technology we have, she would probably be a you. She would be an influencer, or she would have a podcast. She would have, she'd have a YouTube channel. But what we wonder is like, I mean, she obviously also has some real mental health challenges that she has to deal with. So sometimes we talk about like, if she was alive now and she had all these opportunities to stay in her apartment yet still connect with the real world, would that be like helpful to her, or would it be a way for her to still sort of like keep things at bay? So it's just like an interesting, I mean, obviously for you, it's healthy and helpful. And I think it ultimately would have been for her too, which is interesting because I think these days it's easier to like sort of look at social media and all of our technology moving so fast as like sort of a lot of the negative impacts it's having on us. But for a lot of people, there's a lot of positive out there as well in terms of connecting with the outside world. I mean, we're all talking to each other in different areas of the country, which is so cool. It's just like, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This little studio that I have right here is just a precursor to what I'm going to be getting next. And my wife's going to help me with the decoration and the building of said studio. And she told me, you can't have your office and studio in-house because you'll really start forgetting what you need to do around the house. And she's right. And we have a deal where if she's making the bread, I clean up the house. And that's no problem for me. That is absolutely no problem for me. So teamwork makes the dream work. And though she teases me all the time about announcing games, she was one that looked me in the eye and said, "I want you to chase your dreams." Man, do you know what that does for you when a woman tells you that? Chase your dreams. That is something else. I mean it. That is something else. Speaking of something else, that's what this conversation has been. Oh man, Amelia Huckel-Bauer joining us here on Snowman in the Morning to kick off hour 2. Man, I love you very much. I love your production. I want to see it one day. And I'll say again, you ever need a sports voice, never fear. Snowman's here. I got you.
You're on the list. You're on the list. And I love that story
appreciate
about your wife. Thank you for sharing that. I also have a partner who's incredibly supportive, and it makes a difference.
Isn't it wonderful to
Yeah.
have that? Did your husband like say the same thing to you that my wife?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we're, I think, lucky in a lot of ways. Obviously, you and your wife are an amazing couple. I mean, Eric and I met when we were younger and then sort of split for a little while and got back together. He's also 15 years older than me. But we got married when we were fully grown adults and we knew exactly what we wanted. And there wasn't much, it was like, if we're doing this, this is what we're doing. This is who I am. This is who you are, et cetera, et cetera. So he knew ahead of time, I'm an actor. That's what I do. And what he said to me many times, especially because when we had kids, we have an 8-year-old and an almost 5-year-old, I took off of work mostly because none of my jobs, as wonderful as they are, really supplement childcare to that extent. It didn't make sense for me to keep working. And plus it was amazing to be able to be home with them. But I definitely had times where I felt guilty because I wasn't bringing in the amount of money that I felt I should be. And he looked at me and he would say, "You're doing the harder work, first of all." There are many times where I think he's like, "I'll stay at work another hour."
Yeah.
Whereas like being home with the kids is, but also he looks at me and he says, "You are an artist. It's what you do, and you're a real artist." And then every now and then he sort of looks at me and he's like, I'm amazed with you," which it kind of amazes me to hear him say that because, he knows me better than anybody. And so it's, I just feel like I'm just his wife. I'm going about the things that I do and it's, everyday stuff. And then he sometimes looks at me and he's like, "You're doing a great job. I'm really proud of you." So it's and then he helps me so much with the Yankee stuff. He designed my postcard. He's a teacher. He's a full-time special ed middle school teacher in the Bronx where we live, like the hardest teaching it could possibly be, but he still finds time he's a graphic designer and he helped me with my postcard. And he also used to be a lighting designer. And so one of his best friends is helping me with lights, Stark Productions. So it is a teamwork for sure. Yeah, but no, he's very supportive. And then my team itself, Jonathan Libman is my director and he's amazing. And then one of my very good friends, Tatiana Kott, who also is a Jackie of all trades. She's an actress and a choreographer. She's a scientist, a teacher. She's from the Soviet Union. She's a breast cancer survivor. And she's just she's amazing.
Survivor.
Well, my husband actually is also an adult leukemia survivor. Yes.
What did you say? Leukemia?
Yes. Yep.
In the immortal words of the late great Jack Buck, "Pardon me while I stand up and applaud."
Yeah.
We're surrounded by cancer survivors. So you can add me to that list because I kicked cancer in the ass.
Yes,
and it was stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh my God! Wow.
It was stage 4. I was at stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and the doctors in North Carolina, where we were living, didn't think there was a chance in hell that they could remove the tumor. It started with blood clots, and this is how sports helped me. When I was laying on a table at Duke University Cancer Center, and they were sucking the blood clots out of me, I looked to my left, and on the television was, wouldn't you believe it, a hockey game. It was the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Carolina Hurricanes And I looked to my left and I just stared. I was on that skinny ass table for 2.5 hours while they sucked all the blood that was in my lungs out of me. Thank the Lord that they did. And then a month later had the biopsy, and the biopsy was crazy because we got there, got checked in. I put on the robe and I had to wear 2 hats. I had to wear 2 hospital hats. And then they gave me that anesthesia and I zonked out quick. It took the nurse, according to my wife, it took the nurse to like shake me on my chest to wake me up. One of the best sleeps I ever had. And it only lasted 20 minutes.
Oh no.
It only lasted 20 minutes. I thought I slept for hours because I was groggy.
You're out.
I was out. I was completely out. And when I had the surgery 2 years ago this month, as a matter of fact, I came home from the hospital and dropped into bed. And who should come running? My little dog, Lucy, who has been attached to my hip since the day I met my wife. She's my spirit animal. So, folks, if you have a dream and you're going through a lot right now, physically, mentally, emotionally, use it as therapy. Because I use this as therapy. I do my play-by-play as a form of therapy. I talk to people. I talk to my daughter. I talk to my wife. And I just talk to different people, and they have all helped me to heal. So therapy, folks, is not a bad thing. And we're up against the break, but I would love to have you come back and talk some more. This has been an absolute delight. We love you, and we want you to come back.
For sure. For sure.
Amelia Huckel-Bauer, everybody. Thank you, my dear. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
You come to Maine, I'm coming to the show.
I'm doing it. We're there every summer, so we'll hook it up.
Whenever
Snowman, give her my info.
Done. Whenever you have an opening that I can do virtually, never fear, Snowman's here. I got
I'm gonna think of something now. We're doing it.
Beautiful. Sure. Beautiful.
I wish we could have you as a guest. I wish we could have you both come. We've been wanting to do a talk back. Maybe I can figure it out so we can do a virtual talk back. We'll make it work.
You see how we're doing this? I'll teach you how to make it work. Trust me. Trust me. Bring me on as an advisor for virtual conversations. I will help you make this work. It's a lot of trial and error for me, but now I can share it with you. All right, we'll do it. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, both. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Yeah, you too.
Wow.
Dude, that was freaking awesome.
Wow. I think we just found another virtual job, bud.
I'm down. Legit, I'm down, dude.
So am I. My first virtual voiceover work. Hell yeah.
All for it. I'm all for this, man. Let's do it.
Hell yeah, I'm taking it. I'm taking it. And I love her story, her enthusiasm, her team, which includes her husband and her family. Because in today's age, everybody's out for themselves. Everybody out for themselves. And what's wild is that you don't have natural teams anymore. Let's take a break. We'll end the show with that. We'll end the show with a discussion about that. And thank you, Amelia Huckel-Bauer, for coming on. We appreciate you so very much. A wonderful conversation. Y'all will see this on the new Snowman in the Morning YouTube channel. Talk more about that and a few other things we got in place. Snowman in the Morning, back in a flash.